What's a prank someone has done that was straight up malicious? Please like and subscribe to support us. I had broken my ankle a few months earlier, and had only just started walking around without a medical boot and crutches. I didn't need crutches, but I still had them handy in case I got tired. I didn't have a noticeable limp, but I was definitely still learning to walk again. Anyway, my friend thought that it would be hilarious to trip me, and see me fall on my face. I caught myself, but twisted my bad ankle in the process. I went to the hospital that night to find out that I'd be wearing the medical boot for another month. My oldest brother tends to pull pranks that are actually just him causing panic, and nobody ever thinks it's funny. One Thanksgiving, he very realistically pretending he was choking for over a minute to the point of pretending he was passing out. Another time he moved our aunt's car a block over and ran in the house screaming, "I just saw someone steal your car." They sped off? Did you leave the keys in it? And our cousin ran outside, slipped on the icy porch, and fractured her hip. I can think of several other times he's done similar things. He'll be 50 next year. I have a friend that is allergic to a bunch of different fruits to varying degrees. His worst one is cranberries. So much so that if there is like cranberry juice, or cranberry sauce out in a kitchen, he gets a mild reaction just from the air. He started dating a girl and eventually went over to her house. The girl, according to her own story, explicitly told her mom about my friend's allergies. Well, apparently, the mom didn't believe someone could be allergic to cranberries or some shit and snuck them into a dish. Well, he eventually got to eating dinner. Severe allergic reaction, had to go to the hospital and everything. The girl's mom swears to this day that it was supposed to be a harmless prank to prove he wasn't allergic to cranberries. In high school, my brother was friends with the school drug dealer, M. It was a small private school, so there was only one, and everyone knew who he was. M eventually got caught stealing pills from his parents, and they sent him to some fancy rich kid rehab. A month or so later, my brother called M after he was supposed to have gotten home, just to check up and see how he was doing. M's sister answered and passed on the sad news that M had taken his own life while in rehab. We were all shocked when we heard, but my brother took it especially hard. M was his best friend. A week later, M turned up back at school. Obviously, this was a bit of an emotional roller coaster for my brother. Relief, confusion, betrayal. M thought it was hilarious that his prank had worked so well. Bro took the smart route, though he continued pretending that M was dead until they graduated and never had to see each other again. My ex decided it would be funny to pretend to break up with me. Sat me down in the living room and said we needed to have a serious talk because he thinks it's time we go separate ways. I suspected it wasn't true, but he wouldn't let up until he saw a reaction of shock and devastation. Then he laughed and said I was too sensitive when I didn't find it funny. Ah, man. Youngest of 5. Back in the 80s/90s, my parents wrote it off as horseplay. 2 worst pranks my brothers did was invite me to hang out with them on the roof of our house while our parents were out, just to push me off. Broke my leg. Other times they were playing Mario 3 on the NES and started excitedly yelling for me to come quick see this. My oldest brother was waiting for me with his baseball bat. Was trying to hit me in the stomach but aimed a little too high, cracked 2 of my ribs as I was running to see. The part that really pissed me off back then was they got away with it 'cause it was an accident. We were playing. Haven't seen nor spoke to my family since I moved out 17 years ago. Fuck toxic people. My high school had a pool, so every year, we did a swimming unit for PE. This meant changing into swim trunks at the start of the class, changing back at the end. So after class, we're all changing back into our street clothes. All of us except for Pat. Pat is holding his tighty-whities in his hand, staring at huge, chunky skid marks. And someone notices him doing it, and they get everyone else's attention. In seconds it's turned into a locker room full of teenagers pointing and laughing, and Pat didn't know what to do about it. He looked around at us, threw the underwear in the garbage, and declared, "Somebody shit my pants." He spent the next 3 years being known as the guy who shit his pants and tried to blame someone else for it. But senior year, days before graduation, a friend of mine was reminiscing about his high school hijinks, and he told me, "Oh, yeah, one time when everyone was swimming, I went into the locker room and just took a dump in someone's underwear and put it back." He didn't even know whose underwear it was. Didn't even care. Just thought it was funny. When I was in elementary school, I was bullied badly for being weird. We had a class meet up in the pool, and the second the people saw me coming, they ran out of the pool. I could hear them calling that when she comes in the water, it'll turn green. I tried to ignore them and went towards my classmates on land again. They left to the pool. The teasing continued. I was so distraught I sat on the edge of the pool and cried through my goggles. The lifeguard knew me well, because I had to get my leg back in working order by swimming the entire summer vacation before, and I'd chat with him during short breaks. He came up to me and asked me what had happened. After I explained, he went up to the group and banned the guys who were orchestrating the entire thing from the pool for the entire day. I got to have a lot of good memories from that day, including my favorite lifeguard sticking up for me. When I was in school, a guy from school started talking to me online. He seemed really nice, and he suggested we hang sometime. We arranged a time and place. I wore my favorite outfit and put some makeup on, and headed out to meet him. After about 10 minutes, I started to wonder if he would actually come. After 15, what seemed like half my school year showed up. Some of them even quoting things I had said to the guy in messages. This had been orchestrated over weeks. I couldn't contain my anger and sadness, and I screamed and swore at them. I literally sobbed, surrounded by a braying mob of my peers. When I left, some of them even tried to follow me home to antagonize me further. To add to the hilarity of their little afternoon torture session. Within a week, the videos of me crying and screaming were being circulated around the whole school. The guy? I confronted him, and he literally said, "It was just a prank. You made it worse for yourself by reacting that way." Asking me out as a joke. The best part was that he didn't just approach me publicly and ask out of the blue, cause I expected that by that point in my life. No, instead, he struck up a flirting friendship with me, and waited a couple of weeks before shyly holding my hand around his friends and then saying, "Oh, yeah. Should we make this official?" in a fake nervous way, and as I nodded said okay. Before he dropped my hand and said that this was a fucking joke. As if anyone would go out with you. You believed it. I'm fine now, but still, fuck you, James. In high school back in the early 90s, we had a teacher who was not well liked. I thought he was nice enough, but he was strict and a bit prissy, and honestly pretty sure he was in the closet. He was also in his 50s, 60s at the time. He got made fun of a lot, which probably added to his strictness. The year before my freshman year, apparently, the senior prank went a bit too far. This actually was confirmed that it happened, too. It wasn't just a school urban legend. Someone thought it'd be funny to slip a couple of hits of acid into this teacher's coffee in the morning. In the early part of the day, he was pretty funny, like I heard at one point, he just stopped and yelled, "Let's surf," and jumped up on his desk and started pretending to surf. But as the day went on, he started freaking out and melting down, and had to go to the hospital. At the time, we all thought it was funny, I mean we were teenagers. But you could tell it fucked him up pretty bad. Whenever people would joke about it, he'd flip out on them. The rest of the staff got really cold whenever students would talk about it. As I got older, it kinda occurred to me just how really fucked up and malicious that really was. My buddy is a teacher at our old high school, and I agreed to help him set up the video and projector system at an after-school event he was hosting. So I'm chatting with one of the graduating seniors, nice kid, just turned 18, getting ready to go to NYU. And I ask him, "What's the senior prank this year?" And he tells me a few friends are getting ready to rig the stalls in the women's bathroom with cans of mace, so anyone who opens the stall door is gonna get maced in the face. And I'm like, "Kid, that's not a prank. That's a fucking felony. You're gonna get caught. Arrested. Forget NYU. Forget everything. Go dismantle that shit and never tell anybody you were even thinking about it." He turned pale and ran off. I never heard about anyone getting maced, so I guess he took my advice. I mean, Jesus, how stupid can you be? My youngest sister wanted some attention one day while I had a friend over. I think I was about 17, which would have made her about 8 or 9. So, she pretended to fall down the stairs onto a carving knife. Well, my other sister screamed for help. Kay fell down the stairs onto a knife. Me and TV came flying down the stairs, expecting to see blood and guts or brains spattered everywhere, getting ready to call 911. And then she sat up and laughed. Kind of a funny story now, but at the time, I pretty much shit myself wondering how I was going to tell my parents. A group of friends in middle school decided it would be funny to spread a rumor that I was gay. This was 2010, so that was still considered a bad thing. It didn't really amount to much except for them obsessively shipping me with one of the few guys who didn't treat me like shit. They, in the rumor, followed me into high school, and that's basically where it got out of hand. People began messaging me, calling me all sorts of homophobic slurs, and trying to gaslight me into believing that I was gay. This went on for all of high school. The worst part is that a grand total of one person decided to actually ask me about it instead of blindly believing it. I go to a gym with a group of guys who like to mess with each other in good fun. We're all pretty close and know not to take jokes too seriously. Lately, however, one of my gym mates started a false rumor over another member that he had sex with a hamster, killed it and buried it in his backyard. Of course, there was no evidence to back this claim up, and he had made it with the intent of being a quick yet sadistic joke. Unfortunately, however, that did not happen. Fast forward almost a couple of months, and this poor kid is still being harassed over this fake rumor from time to time, by one kid more than the others, from the joke that still hasn't dropped, making comments like, "Where's the hamster?" And don't you feel sorry for what you did to that poor creature? It's even gotten to the point where the kid was given a new nickname, Hamster. It's clear that the kid doesn't like what's going on, but he doesn't do anything to stop the harassment, doing things like laughing it off when the joke comes up or not responding when he hears comments about it, because he's known these gym mates for at least 4 years now. To this day, he still gets comments about this false rumor, and just last week, the coaches had to check up on him because he was giving off suicidal behavior/speech patterns during practice. Watched a proposal video once where the would-be fiancé was an ER nurse. The proposer thought the following idea would be an absolutely smashing one for a proposal to his girlfriend. He got some coworkers and acquaintances that his girlfriend didn't know very well to pose as paramedics. He was wheeled into the ER when his girlfriend was working as on a stretcher by his buddies acting as paramedics, all bloody and cut up with a neck brace and bandaged. The story was he was in a horrific car accident. The girlfriend is hysterical, sobbing uncontrollably, but yet she's working, so she's a nurse first and girlfriend second, and this is a patient first and boyfriend second, so in between her sobs, she's frantically prepping for the doctor, checking vitals, making sure he is all okay, etc. Then suddenly up pops boyfriend, rips off the neck brace, confidently and competently hops off the stretcher, walks over to his girlfriend with a massive grin on his face and gets down on one knee with the ring in hand. Amazingly, it turned out the other doctors and nurses were in on it as well. Everyone is cheering and clapping while she's crying her eyes out.